A very roller coaster year for us. We anticipated 20 companies given our conversations with the companies, but it hasn't materialized. We believe that as market conditions continue to improve, a number of these companies that have already made the listing decision will actualize those decisions. With regards to other things that we've been able to achieve this year, certainly, we've been able to continue our investor education series. We've been able to continue our CEO dinner series and get a lot of momentum out of those. We've been able to introduce market making and work with the industry to introduce securities lending and short selling. The year is not ended yet. We still have two major projects to deliver this year on the market side. The whole question of retail bond trading and value-added services portal. As you're aware, we're also working with the industry for IFRS compliance by the end of this year. And the exchange itself is also going to be IFRS compliant in terms of financial reporting standards. So there's still a lot to be done before the end of the year.
All right, but do you think we will still get more listings before the end of this year, or should one begin to think of next year? Because like we mentioned earlier, we're looking at 20 this year, but so far we've seen only 2. And many people argue that the market conditions have improved quite a bit. I mean, some people are saying some valuations are already quite rich.
Well, the market conditions have improved quite a bit, but they really improved in the last 2 months. Another thing to bear in mind is that while valuations may be very rich, as compared to the height of the market, they're still like in the middle. So they're still like halfway. But what I try to explain to companies that are trying to list is that you have to look at, when is the best time for you to list. It's not only about valuation, it's also about, driving your strategic business plans. If you need the listing to give you a currency to do acquisitions, you can't wait forever. If you need the listings to raise capital to do certain projects right away, you can't wait forever. If you're just listing because of branding and you feel like you're mature now and you need that badge of honor and you're willing to start paying dividends and you don't need the cash, you may have the luxury of waiting. So it really depends on the companies. But what we announced earlier in the year was the indication we got from the companies.
And what about the IPO market? I think you've been quoted as suggesting that we may see that take off next year. Do you think this is likely to happen in the first quarter? What are your thoughts?
I don't want to be nailed down to a particular time period right now because it depends on a lot of things. Market conditions, the economic circumstances of the nation, and the companies themselves. But we do believe that if we continue to see the kind of returns that we're seeing, if we continue to see the kind of activity in terms of liquidity and depth in the marketplace, and all the regulatory programs that we've implemented and those that we're yet to roll out, as we roll them in, we believe that should give enough confidence to investors, both local and foreign, and the companies, the issuers, to get that IPO window open again.
What about the listings of the power companies? I think that is a big part of your broader agenda to get to $1 trillion market capitalization in 5 years. When can we anticipate that is likely to happen in your view?
In my view, that the MOUs have been signed for the discos, the distribution companies, and we know that I believe they've also been signed for the GenCos, generation companies. We have written a number of papers. We are socializing our views with the major constituencies, the BPE, the NCP, the Technical Committee, the NERC, and all the other acronyms, to make sure that they understand what our vision is, that it is important to democratize the ownership of these utilities, that because when you have ownership from Nigerians, they will support the activities of those companies. And it also gives credibility to the entire privatization process. It's no longer just given to your friends, but you're making it available to everybody as people have been made to accuse the government of doing. So it's a transparency thing. It also gives you a better chance, a better likelihood that those companies will actually succeed because they now have to comply with our post-listing standards, corporate governance issues, disclosures, transparency, and the like. We believe that right now in the MOUs, they've talked about 5 years. We want to put some kind of flexibility into that so that if the companies need to raise money sooner than 5 years, that they can access the market. It should rely on our listing standards. If you can meet the listings standards of the exchange, there's no reason why you shouldn't access the market.